Good morning.
Good evening.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
No, it could be morning.
It could be
It can be whatever
Good
you want.
night.
it could be
Good morning, good night, good
Midday.
evening, good dinner.
Midday.
it could be
Mid-afternoon.
Mid afternoon.
It could be
Every
early morning.
Tell us what you're
Sunrise.
eating right now, because
It could be.
I've been craving chili cheese bread.
Dude,
You've been craving the
you've been-
chili?
Huh?
the
Yeah.
ch-
The chili?
The chili.
The
oh,
chili,
the
yeah,
from Tommy's,
yeah.
bro.
Chili, Thomas. Yeah,
Dude,
yeah, I like it.
I'm not gonna say
I
nothing.
like it a lot.
Yeah, but that's a
A hamburger chili.
Ooh, yeah.
Like
A
The
hamburger
chili cheese
What?
burger.
a hamburger
Chili
chili.
cheeseburger.
What's
Chili
a
che-
hamburger
yeah,
chili?
cheeseburger.
That's
Really?
what he's
It's like
saying.
animal style on In and Out.
In and out. Yeah.
So
there
they
you
just
go.
But
copied
they
In
don't-
and Out.
No, because they don't do
Nah.
Come
chili.
on,
In
Nick.
and out don't do chili.
Yeah, they do. You can get the little jalapenos.
No, they're not even jalapenos. What are they? Wait.
They're
They're called chilies.
peppers.
Yeah,
no,
what
they're not
type-
peppers.
Yellow peppers.
No.
Yeah, they're not.
I
They're
got
little
some in my
peppers.
fridge. I'm gonna tell you exactly what they're called.
Yeah,
You do?
I
true.
just don't
Yeah,
remember.
we,
right
we do got them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Well, there you go.
Kevin has them.
You have a little chili?
Yeah,
You have a little chili in the
Yeah.
fridge?
little chili.
Yeah?
The yellow ones.
I forgot.
You don't have it?
No, I forgot what they're called. You know.
Man.
I don't know.
All
What
right, so
they're
we're
called.
gonna spend the whole podcast talking about chiles or what?
Yeah, I think we should do a podcast where
Just-
we all buy different chiles.
Oh, heck
like
no.
habanero.
I won't
Let's
make
try
it.
it.
I won't
Let's
make
try
it.
it.
I won't make
Like a
it.
challenge.
No,
Nah.
We're
dude.
not gonna
Challenge.
tell you
I don't
what
put
day we're
chilies in
gonna
my mouth.
Dang,
We're
They're
not
too
gonna
spicy.
tell you what day we're gonna do it.
Nah.
Dang, that's savage. Hey, you know what? If the audience wants it, they'll get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what we do. That's what
If
we're
we
here
have
for.
so many
you know?
listeners,
Wow.
I mean,
You guys are just people pleasers?
That's how we
That's
are.
right.
I mean, that's the reason why
what
we're
we
doing
were
the
born to
podcast.
do.
You know what I mean?
You know
Like,
what
to
I
make
mean?
Why are
people
you doing
happy.
the podcast?
not to please people.
Right? Just to
Just
for yourself. You want to
Yeah.
record yourself and
selfish.
hear by
Yeah.
yourself.
100%.
It's
That's all I do.
all alone in the restroom, just
Boom.
hearing your own voice. You mute everybody else
Yeah.
but your voice.
That's right.
He
Yeah.
hears himself laugh and he
I'm
laughs.
like, I laugh. I laugh with my joke. I'm
Yeah.
like, you're great. Like, you're the star.
They're
That's
nothing
how-
without you.
That's how you hype yourself up.
That's
right?
how that's what I do. I look in the mirror. I'm like,
Right.
this is you. Let's go.
It's your time.
So they don't get your jokes.
Wait, what movie does that?
I don't know.
There is a movie.
There's
and
a
I-
movie
and I'm
that
trying to
does that.
remember it. Yeah.
I was
Is
thinking
it
of.
Will Ferrell?
I
think
don't
he
know.
does that.
Anchorman?
Is it?
Does he do that?
I don't know.
I was thinking more of a like 8 Mile Eminem when he's like looking and he's like hype, but that's
But he doesn't talk to himself.
nah, yeah.
He's just breathing hard. Like,
Okay, I like it. That's
I
a
don't know.
that's a heavy breathing.
That was Raquel
No,
breathing.
I think that's just my breathing.
How does she breathe?
She does not
When
breathe
she's
like
sleeping.
that.
yeah, they
wait,
were wrestling.
She's
She was breathing
does.
hella hard. I was like, Raquel, you good?
She does not breathe.
I'm for
Hey,
real.
that's what
talk.
Raquel gets for not coming over today.
No,
She can't
no.
defend herself.
No.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Damn.
It's all good.
All right, what are we talking about?
So what's the
today?
question?
What's a topic for today?
What
Go-
is it?
What is it?
You
Dun,
said
dun,
it.
dun.
You forgot.
Dun, dun,
Look-
dun. No, we're talking about.
That's a good one.
Oh, it's good.
Just wait.
So what is it?
Huh?
What is it?
Oh,
Ah.
Go, tell me. Go.
You were saying something about when you're doing good things, bad things happen to you.
Yeah.
And when you're doing bad things, good things happen to you.
well,
What we think.
okay. Well,
think-
that's the topic.
yeah.
You think
When we
something-
think,
When we think bad things are happening and good things happen.
Yeah,
what?
there you go.
I'm so confused.
No,
now. Yeah.
When you think
Especially
bad
when-
things,
okay,
but
so
good
basically-
things, but the bad things outweigh the good, but the good still outweighs the bad.
the bad.
So,
at
but
the
I
end of the
still,
day.
basically-
I still like bad.
Basically, when you're doing your walk with God and you're doing the good steps to get there, the bad things are still happening. Like you still you're still broke, or you're still asking for God for something and He hasn't given it to you, and you just lead on more and more disappointment.
Hmm.
I think I was just telling you about that 3 days ago, right?
Yeah, yeah. You were.
Or actually, I
Yeah.
was complaining to him at the fact that at some point I was doing a lot of bad things and a lot of good things where I was receiving
Like what?
like more money.
Like what stuff were you doing?
Like I was stealing
Well,
money, doing
Okay.
drugs,
Okay.
Yeah.
and lying to people to try to get myself away, out of the problems. And still, good things were happening to me. Now that I'm doing good things, I'm just like,
But
wow.
what good things were happening in that time?
I was getting more money. People were believing me.
People were believing you.
People were believing me at the fact that
Believing your
they were
lie.
they were believing me at the fact that I was lying to them.
They were
Yeah.
believing you were lying.
Yeah. No.
They would believe your lie.
They would believe my lies.
Yeah.
But I would good. Like I would make it the story seem like it was real, and I even believed in myself.
That's how you.
And I don't
Well,
be
that's how
like,
you tell a good lie is when you believe it,
But wouldn't you
because then you
forget?
speak with conviction on it.
but I'll be so happy. I'll be like, yes, yes, I got my way out of it, and yes, they believed me.
But then
But then,
did it come back to you
yeah,
after
it
that?
did 10 times worse.
Maybe not
like
at that
every
moment.
single time.
Not at that
or-
moment. No, everything I've done bad comes out to me, like bites me in the butt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you got a big butt too, so
I do.
that's just more to bite.
A lot of meat.
You're like, yeah.
I got a lot of meat. I gotta donate some.
So lie some more.
We're really encouraging people to don't lie, guys.
Don't lie. No,
Yeah.
it's bad because you face your consequences, man. Trust me.
But
You're
it
not
really
gonna-
gets you down, no?
It really does, because at the moment you're feeling good, but once it gets you, you feel so depressed. You feel like you're not worth anything.
Dang,
Well, that's how I feel.
I'm sorry.
That's
That's how I feel. I feel like so many things I've done wrong and just comes and gets me right in my back. I feel like I'm a bad person. I'm not
You a
worth
bad boy.
anything in this world.
that's what you feel when you get caught up.
Yeah. I feel so down. Like I feel like I let myself down so many times. But I feel like I don't even listen. Like I've do it again and do it again and don't learn my lesson. And when it comes to that point, I'm just here
Do
we
you
go
think
again.
it's just you being so used to doing it?
Yes. Because I've done it for years. I did it for years. I've
Yeah.
not done it for years. I'm barely there, Try to get back on my feet.
So is
The
it
right way.
So is it
Yeah,
hard for
yeah.
you to stop? Like
Yes. Because sometimes I'd be like, wow, what if I lie? I know I'm going to get myself out of it.
You have your
But
little
I think
plans.
about, yes, I think of it. I think of it. It's like selling a car. What if I lie to them? But I know he's going to get back to me. So why would I want that problem?
Yeah.
Why? Just go straight forward to them. And again, you don't have problems after that,
Sometimes it's hard in the beginning, but I think as you keep going, and listening to God, I think everything starts to change.
Eventually.
Like,
And support from
yeah.
people, from your family.
yeah.
Because if you don't have any of that, I don't know how you're doing it by yourself. Because you can't do life
Well,
alone.
you can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
I
That's,
mean, you
You
could.
really
that's
can't.
one thing I learned
I mean,
from
No,
you
you
church.
could,
can't.
but wait, you could, but you,
You
shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
You could,
I've
but you
I've
shouldn't.
tried to do life alone a lot of times through a lot of years, and I always needed support from my family.
Well, technically, the statement is flawed. Like, no one does really life alone because you're technically around people all the time, unless you're like a hermit in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, but some people do that. You know.
They
No,
do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out
They
there
go off
still.
the grid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, that's like 0.01%.
Right. But I mean, I think where that statement is it's meaning, you find your support system, your
Yeah.
your circle, the people to reach out to. You may go to work and you're not alone, right? Because you got people in the same cubicle, but at the same time is you don't speak out to anybody,
Yeah.
you don't know, they don't know what your problems are or what's going on in your life. So
I
that's
think
what we
that's-
mean by
yeah.
doing life alone.
Yeah. I think that's where the situation gets a lot harder because you're not talking to anybody. You're kind of just,
It gets
and-
worse.
yeah. And then you start telling yourself all these things that, like, you're not worth anything or you
And that's
can't
when
amount to anything.
That's when the drug addiction comes. 'Cause
Well,
you-
or just addictions itself, I think.
Yeah. In general. Yeah.
You could be addicted to being alone, depressed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nick? Tell me. You seem like you want to talk into that.
Yeah.
What's your point of view,
let's
Nick?
see
What's
that.
going
On
on?
what?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, what we're talking
We're
about.
talking
right
about,
now.
man.
I don't know. I mean,
About let's stick to the topic. Let's talk. We're listening.
I mean, for me personally, like I think it depends where your foundation and your beliefs and your values lie, because doing it depends, right? So if you're Christian based, you're like, oh, I'm doing all of these good things and I'm doing these right steps. Why are bad things happening? Well, that logic is just flawed in itself, because there's no good steps you can do in order to receive the goodness. It's always there,
Right.
right? So
Mhm.
it's a more perspective switch that you need to be aware of.
Yeah.
And it's not about, oh, I'm doing all of these good things and I'm praying really hard and all of these things. And then it's like, but I didn't get my way. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Nope.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
No matter how much harder you pray, it's a great example is the sinner on the cross. You can live your whole life walking these steps. What does it mean? And then the guy on the cross, he lived his whole life of doing whatever he did, thieving, stealing, everything. And then he repented like 5 minutes before he passed away.
What's at 5?
It's an example, right? I wasn't there with the watch.
There probably no watches around that time.
True.
Um,
Or who knows? We don't know.
Sundial.
we don't know because we weren't there.
Sundials.
Yeah,
I
we
don't know. I
There
don't
was
know.
sundial. Was there sundials?
I
Maybe.
don't know. Maybe.
No, yeah.
But like I for me, it's hard for me to, because I used to think that like that a lot. Was like, oh, I'm doing all of these right things, like
Yeah.
boom, 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 and it's like, for me, it's like, oh, wait a second, like I think that the world revolves around me. That just because I'm doing all these right things, that means nothing bad is gonna happen. And then I get into a deeper conversation, like, is there really a such thing as good and bad, or is things just happening?
Yeah.
And it's how you're perceiving it, right?
Yeah. So there's one thing that I was sharing with Kevin about that, where, since we're doing, again, it ties in with what you're doing, what you said, when we're doing things that are quote unquote good, right? Or we're straining out our lives, we expect that everything's gonna everything's gonna fall in place.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way. The thing is that we start paying attention more to the things that are happening, and it's like, man, that never happened, but technically it probably did happen. So
I think a big thing too, it comes down to like who you surround yourself with. I
Yeah.
think that has a lot to deal with, like your beliefs and
Yeah.
and your logic a
Yeah.
lot of the times. Because if you're around people who believe that, I mean, unfortunately, you're more prone to believe that, and no one's challenging that. So then it's like that just keeps getting reinforced. Where it's like, no, life isn't happening to you; it's happening at, like, it's like you're just think about it like you're
Happens
playing.
in general.
you're just
playing
part of it.
like a Call of Duty, right? And you're controlling the character. Like, that's how it is. It's like it's just happening, right? That's why you can pass away, I can pass away, and it still just happens. Like,
Yeah.
nothing changes.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, things are gonna
It's
keep
all
going.
how you perceive it, like how you respond to it.
And
right? You can
Yeah.
be positive or you can be negative. You can be optimistic or you can be pessimistic.
and looking at it from a faith point of view, it doesn't on the Bible doesn't say that once you become Christian or once you follow God,
Everything's gonna fall.
everything, nothing's bad gonna happen to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't say that.
But
And-
I think that everyone says that, and then as you listen to people talk, for some reason, that doesn't really get that much attention versus give, you're going to be blessed, all this stuff. And then somebody who's not maybe being taught doctrine correctly or theology correctly, they're just going based on what's being said. And then when something bad happens, they're like, I did everything you told me to do,
Yeah.
but all of this bad stuff happened. And it's like, oh my, it breaks my heart when I see that, because
Right.
it's like, that could have been easily fixed once you understand your relationship with God,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Once you understand what that is about. So it has more so to do with like leadership. And I get the fact of like, obviously funds need to be paid for certain things, and it's very easy to make people feel good. But what happens when you have a people in a church? This happened in my early 20s, and someone passes away and they're Christian, and like, we were praying everything. What do you tell that person? Because if you what you're consistently preaching is pray boldly, and someone that happens, did you pray boldly enough? Like I saw that happen.
Yeah.
And it was like, what do you say to them? Like, well, no, it's because that's not how it works. Like, detach yourself from that you're owed anything.
Yeah, I mean,
right? You're not owed anything.
At the end of the day, we don't. Yeah, God doesn't owe us anything, you know.
And I think that's where blessings and miracles come into place. Like if something happens, that's a blessing, that's a miracle. And if
Yeah.
it doesn't, guess what? It's not your job to understand why that happened the way it did.
That could have been a miracle on itself. You know
and
what
this
I mean?
this was my question at the time. Like if you guys are all like, and I understand it. My dad passed, so when people are like, oh, I get the internal struggle of like, oh, you don't understand. Like I get it, but in my head, I'm like, if you're claiming to be this faith-based and you're active and you're following Christ, and someone in your family who's doing the same passes away, wouldn't you be rejoicing that they're in heaven now?
That's right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And it's hard to accept that,
It is.
That's the
right?
point
Because
of
you're
it.
like,
Yeah.
you get into that, like there's stages of grieving. Even when my dad passed, like it was, for me, it was very black and white. It was like, I know he's up there. So first of all, why am I upset with God? Like I should be like, why would you want to be here when you have an inheritance up there? Makes no sense. In the sense of like when you're praying for something and someone passes away and you want something to happen, it's like, okay, you have to look at the bigger picture, which sometimes infinite, if you really think about it, no one can really grasp, right?
Yeah. I mean, it does say that, you know, a lot of things from God we'll never understand, you know.
Well, yeah,
and at the same, you know, that's just part of it. That's just part of it, and it just brings me back to a part of the Bible where I think it's King David was praying. You know, I think his son was dying, and he was like super praying, and he wouldn't come out of the room, and he was just stuck inside, you know, that room where he's at, and
Yeah, he wouldn't eat.
He wouldn't eat. He would
Yeah.
pray, and all
Yeah.
the servants were like, "What's going on with this
And then
guy?"
his son passed.
And then as soon as, you know, his son passed away, well, you know, he kind of like
started
dusted
eating.
off.
Yeah.
And then he came out of the room and he was like, well, and they were surprised, like, why are you acting happy? And I was, well, I already did whatever I could do, you know, whatever I could do I already prayed. And at the end of the day, the Lord has control over everything.
That's
And I'm
right.
paraphrasing again. So I think that's for me, it's that way. You know, I may not
Yeah.
never, well, you know what? I will never understand fully what God is gonna do in everybody's life, you know. And but what I know for sure is that God will keep things away from you.
Yeah.
As a blessing as well.
Yes,
That's
Yeah.
I'm not saying
And
don't
I'm
pray.
okay with not knowing.
That's not what I'm saying. But what
Mm.
I'm more so talking to the people who is like, still pray boldly, do all those things.
Yeah.
But if something doesn't happen the way you did it, don't fall into. I see this happen so much. I can point out people right now that I personally know
Don't
where
do
they
it.
do that.
Don't do it. Don't do
Where
it.
it's like,
Come on now.
it doesn't mean that you didn't pray hard enough.
No.
You know what I mean?
It
Or
was-
it doesn't mean that
yeah.
you didn't give enough. Like
No.
I mean, there's very clear examples biblically that shows that the people who are doing all of these extra stuff, and then the person who just gives like the most smallest thing, but it's the condition of the heart, and it's like it's just very evident where you see it time and time again.
Yeah, and I think we can't ever again. I don't think perfect. Gracias. Perfecto, gracias. I don't think we can ever win brownie points with God. That's just it. You know, no matter what we do, no matter how we do
try
it,
to do.
you know, we can go to 5 services on a Sunday.
Yeah.
We can go to 10, you know, small groups, live groups. We can give $1 million,
We can feed all the
you know.
Something what I
homeless
used
all
to
over the
do.
world.
Yeah, and then if you come up with that mentality of just like, oh well, if I do all this, I know for a fact I'm gonna
He's gonna-
receive. You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I-
like-
I was doing that at one point.
But I mean that, and then you also see it too a lot of the times where those people get glorified, like, oh, this person did this person.
yeah.
And-
I mean,
but
yeah.
like I'm saying, when it's not explained, where it's explained very loosely and
Yeah.
left for interpretation and very ambiguous, it's like you walk a very fine line where somebody who maybe not be as educated as you are scripturally to understand what's happening in their mind, they're like an infant, like, oh, okay, so if I do this, this is what happens. It's the same thing as kids.
yeah,
It's the same
Yeah.
thing.
But
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
it's
I think
go ahead.
that's where you learn to I don't, for me, it's always been like if I fall, that was my learning experience walk with God to have a closer relationship with him. So when things wouldn't happen or something wouldn't happen, it's closer that I will fall onto him. And I think with every single person, I think that's mainly what it deals with. It's how the what's gonna happen to the relationship after something's not granted. After they did all this, after they fast, after they prayed, what are they gonna do now? Are they still gonna be with him? Are they still gonna be with him no matter what? And I think in in everyone's case, I think eventually that's how our heart grows more and more for him.
Well, I think it's once you understand that he doesn't love you any more than he loves you, any
Yeah.
more than he loves the other person.
Nope.
Yeah.
Once you r- understand that, it's like, dang, like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny
It's
because
amazing.
you don't, he loves the same people that go to, on a Sunday church,
Mhm.
and he loves the same way to the person that's in jail right now
Mhm.
that murdered
Somebody.
someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He loves them
In the
the
begin
same way.
I
And
have to say in the
it's
beginning
it's
that was difficult to understand. It was
What
difficult to understand that he loves a murderer, that he loves the child rapist, that he loves all kinds of crazy things. But if they're able to repent and ask for forgiveness for him, he still has that love for them.
well, it's hard because we try to apply human logic to it.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
And you can't, right?
Yeah.
So like we lost that relationship in a sense once we Adam and Eve sinned. So we
Yeah.
lost that worship that we had with him, that
Yeah.
walk with him. And it's like we're going through this constant process of sanctification,
Mhm.
right? Like you're redeemed once and then you're going through that process of being cleansed. And once you start understanding it's like, man, every time you think you figured it out, it's like, no, I'm still a baby. But I'm
Yeah.
still a
For real.
baby,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
once you
Yeah.
let go of that and understand, like, hey, like things are gonna happen,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it's what is your outlook on it when things happen,
Mhm.
right? A lot
And
of times
and
for
and
me, it's like when things are going good, it's more so for me, like I feel like God is more so blessing me. And he's like, all right, are you still gonna be faithful in this? Because I already know when things go
Yeah.
bad, everybody goes to like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I gotta pray now. That's
Yeah.
easy to do because you're at the bottom, like you're rock. But what else do I gotta do? Pray. It's more so like when things are going correctly, it's like, dang, what
What
do
are
I
you gonna do
do?
with that?
What do I
Yeah.
do? Am I going to be as grateful and thankful to him when things are going good and something doesn't go my way
Yeah.
versus when something's bad? Because for him, it's the same,
Mhm.
right?
yeah, I mean, you're talking about that, and for me, it's
And what I
like,
mean by the same, like his love is the same,
yeah,
regardless of
yeah.
what
Yes.
Regardless, it
happens.
doesn't matter.
Yes.
And for me right now, that how it was in my mind, how you have to be grounded. It's like when things don't happen the way that you expect them to, and if you're grounded on the word, you grounded on, you got your support system. That's why for me it was like, don't do life alone. That when things don't go my way, like
Yeah, but it
something,
depends what kind of like.
yeah,
This is where it comes up. What I was saying depends what kind of support system you have.
exactly. But again, you have it's you make your own choices at the end of the day. Find a good, faith-based, Bible-based church, and and pray that God guides you to those relationships that are willing to help you out and
Put the
get you
time
out
in
of
it.
there.
Yeah.
We don't know. We might go
Yeah.
to a church and that church is doing things differently. You know what I mean? It's just how it is. But
But
what I'm trying to say is just you got to be grounded in God at the end of the day.
Yeah.
yeah, at the end, I think that, and that's kind of why I was like, I understand. I guess I understand the statement of like can't do life alone, but at the end of the day, it's like you're never really alone. Once you really understand like who you are, like he's always there with you.
Of
Yeah.
course.
No,
You know,
Yeah.
but like so if you're feeling that some type of way, if you're feeling that, like understand like he's always right there with you. Like that should give you if you're at for me, it helped me out when I was at my lowest point and like sometimes when you're at your lowest point, there's no one around.
no, of course.
course.
The
You
only
know?
one that you have to hold on is to God. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And that's it. And then you look around, and ain't nobody there.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're by yourself, and the only one you have, it's God. And I completely understand where you're going with that. I believe in
Because you
that.
don't
Yeah.
just as much as this is funny, like we'll spend so much time investing in other people, all these different things, and I'm going with this and that. It's like cool, but like, what's your investment like with your personal relationship?
Yeah. So I think,
You know?
invest
They're both.
first.
I think
Because
they're
what-
both very important.
They are, and you'll see it with. It's very just watch. That's why I don't really talk too much sometimes, just in general. Like I just watch
Sure.
because you'll see like I just watch people's actions because people can say things all day long. Like it doesn't really matter to me. I just pay attention. And for people, it's like if you're really following like community, and that is a byproduct of walking with Christ. That's like that
Yeah.
community's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like it's not like an either or, right? It's you have both, right? So it's
Mhm.
like, oh, like yeah, community is great, but like at the end of the day, guess what? If right now is your time to be judged, none of those people are going to be there, and they're not going to be standing before God. You're going to be.
Yeah.
I
know?
think it's just.
I'm just saying,
in-
don't put your your whole faith in man.
Never do.
Yeah.
Never
Never
do.
Yeah.
Put
Yeah.
your faith in God.
Yeah.
I think
That's it.
only each other is to support each other, and when we're going through a difficult time, because even Jesus had his disciples,
Yeah.
and at the time that he knew what God, his Father, was asking him to do,
Not that he needed them.
not that he needed them, but
But
he
he was-
asked them to pray with him.
Yeah.
And they fell asleep, and he got mad. So I think it's. He was showing us that in need, sometimes we need those other people to give us that extra push or to encourage us. And I think that's what he was trying to show in that moment. Because even they fell asleep, he still went up and still prayed by himself.
But even though they fell asleep, this is the crazy thing too. People like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, like sometimes I mean, just traveling and being around so many different places, you'll see like it's very easy to feel or for words to be said. That's what I'm saying, like understanding things and like not leaving it up for interpretation where it's like, oh, you're not doing enough for
Yeah.
within the church, right?
Well,
But
yeah.
but that message is constantly across different places being said. Oh, you'll hear it all the time. It's like just like prosperity preaching. And it's like that's why it goes back to like the disciples the disciples were walking with Christ. Like they were there with him. They still
Mhm.
questioned him.
Yeah,
They
that's
did.
funny. That's
Remember, like they still questioned him. Like, but yet we sometimes feel like, oh, I can't say anything to the pastor. Like they were with him, questioned him, and he asked them to do something, and they didn't do it, and he still loved them the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
And-
understanding, like they were there with him.
yeah,
Like,
that's
with him.
that's hard. And for the people that say like, oh, if I was there with him, I would never.
Yeah.
Dude, we would.
We would.
You know what I mean?
Anytime
We
someone
would.
says that,
We would.
anytime someone says that, in my mind right away, it just shows me like how much you really know in a sense.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about the people who essentially built the church after Christ went to, like, they were there with it. Like, listen, you're no different than they were. You're just as human, right?
Yep.
People talk like, listen, until you've had a gun to your head, don't come talking like, oh, I would do this or like you.
Nope.
No,
Mm-hmm.
your homeboy betrayed him.
Mm-hmm.
But you
Yeah,
think about it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like
What makes me
he
laugh?
was there with him and then betrayed him.
Yep.
You know?
Makes me laugh is when he was telling Peter, he's like, I know you're gonna deny me.
Yeah.
And he kept repeating it to him. And then there was a point where Peter's like, I already told you I loved you. And then that day comes,
But
right?
he said he wouldn't do it.
He said he wouldn't
I
do
got
it.
your back.
But he got so offended that Jesus kept asking him that you're gonna deny me. And he kept defending that. And when the day really came where he told them, he's like, in this point, you're going to deny me. And then Peter actually did it and saw Jesus' eyes. It was still exactly the same when he was telling him. And that, I
Yeah.
think that's the most amazing part, because no matter how many times we fail, he's still going to continue on loving us completely and still being there for us.
And
Amen.
that
I like
that
that.
also doesn't mean that you just go out and
Oh, of
and
course
go
not.
go
No,
wild.
no, 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 no. Don't. No, no. We don't do
So,
none of that.
so like, do you have an example, Norma, babe,
What?
of of what we're talking about, of how maybe at times you were praying for something and the outcome it didn't come out to what you wanted, or the other way where you weren't praying and then it came out to be what
No,
both
yeah,
ways.
yeah. I have to like in the beginning, we didn't have money for gas or anything and stuff, and then we kept going faithfully, and still we would get the pennies, out and everything, and we would just be like, "Oh, it's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. Like we're still gonna go no matter what." And then we we got to a point where there was no money, and we had the opportunity to move to the front house.
Yeah.
And I told you I was scared because
Mhm.
I didn't want to do it because we were broke. And he's like, everything's going to be fine. And then I still didn't believe that because, anyway, so I was praying and I was like, okay, God, I'm just going to put trust in you because I'm really stressing out about it. And I did. And we ended up moving to the front house and ended up always paying our bills on time and being able to get a second car. So God just truly provided even when I didn't expect it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
also
that's a good
like
story.
I also for me, like my prayer also changed a lot. To where now I more so ask for like the strength to get through something, because at the end of like I learned I've prayed for things, they don't happen. Like things don't happen the way I want to sometimes in life. Instead of that, I don't know, I just changed my perspective and like my outlook more so like, okay, your will be done. Like just give me the strength and the courage or the mindset
Mm,
or help me not to get angry in the situation to follow through with this.
yes.
That's the way
Um
I think too.
and so that's helped me. For me, that's helped me in the sense of like accepting and understanding like things don't always go your way.
Yeah.
That's
Course.
fine.
Yeah.
But only thing I can control is my attitude and behavior at the end of
Yes.
the day,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? And so my attitude is going to dictate my behavior, and what dictates my attitude is going to be the thoughts that I feed myself,
Yes.
right? And so for me, it's like that process of like, okay, just give me the strength, give me the wisdom, give me the patience, give me the calmness, whatever the case may be, to get through this. And I'll still always pray for things getting very specifically too. You always want it when you're setting down goals, the same thing, like asking for something specifically. But for me, it's more so the strength
Yeah.
to get, because if I can get that, then I mean, my behavior and attitude is going to be there. Whatever's going to be is going to be.
Yeah.
That's that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know. And sometimes you need to be open to receive, and sometimes you need to give.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
And understanding that, like just teaching. It's more so like renewing of the mind.
Yes.
For me, if anything,
Yeah.
you know.
That's good. How about
It
you,
is.
Kevin? How about you, Kevin?
No, exactly what he was saying. The fact that no, what I was cutting off.
Yeah.
Basically every morning, I'm a small person, so I always try to pray to God to keep me strong, to have me, how do you say it? To just don't let people get to you. At the fact that you always have to face something through the rest of your life. As of me.
Yeah.
So when you go outside, you're gonna get this from people, you're gonna get that from people, and people's words hurt me sometimes. Even though I'm trying to be so grown, people's words hurt me because of the fact that so many people go against you, and you're by yourself at that moment. You feel down because you don't have no one to protect you but God. But physically, He doesn't protect you, but mentally, He does because it's protects you at the fact that you don't get angry at the person, you just ignore them. At the fact I try to pray every morning as me trying to come out the door. I'd be like, all right, God, let's do this. Provide with what I need today. And that's it. That's how I get my day started.
Can you give us an example of how one of those options, whether either you prayed and nothing happened, or whether you didn't pray and something
back
happened?
in Atlanta, I was going through depression, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna face God to this. I'm gonna stop drinking. I'm gonna go to church. I'm gonna go to 2 services, and then it wasn't working. I was
Yeah.
like, what's going on? basically people tell me it doesn't work out like that. Other people, because I was telling them, hey, even people that would knock into my door, Jehovah Witness, I would have them pray for me, and they would tell me some other stuff, and I went to their church, and my mind was just confusing. I was like, what's going on? But I think I'm doing the right thing because I'm going to church.
Okay.
And so I was just praying and thinking, but things were getting worse. I was like, what? If I'm doing this and that, and why is this happening to me? Eventually, months were passing, and I had my mom's support there. I guess that's what God was bringing me, my mom to support me at the fact that she wasn't trying to make me feel lonely because I didn't have anybody around. I have family members, had my cousins and that, but the only person that would understand you was your parents.
Yeah.
At the fact that I will call my mom from over here, she'll make me feel better than I'm speaking to my cousin face to face, and I'll still feel the same because my mom knew how I felt and my dad knew. So having them around me was make me feel better. I didn't. I broke up with this girl. I wanted her back. I couldn't. So that got me to the deep down hole, and it got me to the drug addiction and everything. So that's how my life was. And little by little by little, I started getting away from that.
Yeah.
And not really, because I was still being drinking and drinking and drinking. I still have 1 year or 4 months.
But that's great.
Yeah. So it's
That's
a
a
little by
great
little.
year.
It's a
That's
process.
1 year and 4 months. More than
Yeah.
than before.
Yeah.
That's
And now
right.
I laugh at it. I laugh at the fact that I went through all that depression for this woman. I went through that. I'm a sentimental person. I don't know. I have feelings a lot.
No, that's good.
God.
That's
You know?
good. So what do you think that what was something that
You get attached too quickly. That's what
yeah
it is.
yeah no, it was one thing that helped you out coming out of your depression and besides mom is
Um, getting getting more into God, like actually going to church, not going to ask to God to give me this and give me this and give me that. I wasn't asking for anything no more. I was just literally going to church and hearing the word of God to see if that would help me a little bit. That was kind of helping me a little, and I was getting distracted. I wasn't really focused on this girl. I was getting a job. I was doing this, and then I wouldn't go home. I'd just go straight to sleep. And now, obviously, I wake up in the morning and pray and get my day started. Always get it to my mind distracted by anything, and I guess that's what helped me out.
wow, that's good. Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, everybody's doing amazing. For me, I want to go off and piggyback right off you, babe, because that's one of the moments where like we lived in the back house, and it's such a blessing, that we're the people open up their doors and we're able to live in the back house for a while. Um, and that's where a lot of our testimony took part in, where that was me and the addiction and Norma and her thing, as in uh, dealing with me, my addiction and stuff, right? So it happened in that small place, and it was a blessing. So once we started going to church, um, it's insane, man, because you know we started going to church, but the following week we didn't move. You know what I mean? It took maybe a year and a half for us to move to the front. So when we didn't have any that type of money to move to the front, but we ultimately just gave it to God, and I knew that God was gonna help us. Excuse me. I knew that God was gonna provide. I don't know how. I just knew that if I kept, we kept being faithful,
Yeah.
God was gonna do that. And mind you, not that I was like 110% sure He was gonna get us. There was a little bit like, what if He doesn't though? Like, but you know what? Like, we got confirmation, and we decided to do the move to the front. So it was a couple of $100 more. And when that happened, we barely had enough money for that rent and like the car that we got. It was just barely enough. And I started doing Lyft and
Yeah.
Uber,
Yeah.
and we're do DoorDash, Postmates, like doing it
Everything.
all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to get money from everywhere because now I'm sober. Now I'm able to work. Now I'm able to be responsible. So at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm doing better. And we were, getting our bills paid, we're getting our debts paid. So I was like, wow, that's awesome. Mind you, again, just like Norma, I kind of knew, but not 100% till it was happening. And then
But he reassured me.
sometimes you need that, you know what I mean? Sometimes you need that in your life. Somebody that's gonna be like, let's go, But then after we were there in that house, and I was like, okay, man, this is where we've maxed out right now. This is, I think, where God wants us, and we should do this. And then from here, we're not gonna go. We probably save up for a house. But then another opportunity came up, and this is where we are now.
Yeah.
Where we live now, where and it was a jump from from the rent that we were paying. It was
it's a real
it was a lot more. Plus we got another car. To us was like, okay, that was like, ooh, man, like I don't really, that's where I was in doubt. Like, I don't know. I mean, I understand God has us.
You reassured me here too.
But I was in doubt. I was like, honestly, I was like, man, I don't know if it's gonna happen. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's like we moved.
Yeah.
They let us lease the apartment. We got the car, and at the same time, it's like, man, like I still don't know how I'm doing it. Like I still don't know how we're paying our bills. I mean, when I say I don't know, it means like the money just, I as soon as we moved here, I got a new job. It's just things just started falling into place, but there's always, that's the beautiful story right there. And there's many more where, I wanted to get out of the addiction, and I would pray, even though I would be high, and nothing would happen. The next day, I would still be addicted to meth. I would pray that my family did better, and I at the end of the day, nothing came. But I know.
Well, technically, he didn't give it to you right then and there, but he gave it to you
eventually
later on.
Yeah. See, but the thing is,
exactly how you wanted it.
I was gonna say, God's timing. It's perfect, and He knows exactly when to do things that God does.
That's right.
And it's like that for everybody, man. And it's like that for Nick. It's like that for Norma, for Kevin, for Angel, and for me, for anybody that's watching this, anybody that's hearing this. Like we're believers, and we know that God's timing is perfect.
Yes.
Sometimes, most of the time, guess what? We're not gonna understand it
all the time.
You know what I mean? But
you will.
Have faith that God is doing something for you.
Yes.
Whatever that may be.
Yes.
And just ground yourself in that, and
but have faith, but that also means just faith without works is
so I mean, it's exactly. So like, okay, I know where you're going from. It's like, okay, I'm gonna have like, let's say
effort in it.
Let's say I'm here sitting in the couch and then the table, and I can't pay my bills, but yet I don't go to work. I don't go to work, and I'm like, oh, I know God's gonna pay my bills. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, if I don't go to work, how am I gonna get money? Or if I don't, if I don't do the labor, if I don't do the legwork, I mean, I have to have faith that God's gonna give me the strength to go to work, to the wisdom to deal with that. But I like what you said, but still have faith at the end of the day. Faith with God.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whew. Yes, Jesus.
Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
He's a good father.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. I mean,
takes care of us.
He does, man. He really does. And you know what? Like, I feel like we always finish with something like this, where at the end of the day, if you don't have a support system,
I don't want to be your support system. Your support system needs to be.
Don't talk to Nick
with Christ.
Don't talk to Nick.
That's what your support system needs to be.
Don't DM.
Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be there with you on judgment. And every day is your judgment day, because you don't know when your time is coming up.
Of course.
So that relationship that you have is more important than anything.
At the end of the day, Nick doesn't want to be anybody's support system. He
You
thinks,
just gotta live your,
you know,
you gotta
hey,
live your life
hey.
like it's your last.
Is it better having a support system?
I think your mindset, yeah, fine. Yeah.
I guess you know
Ours
what?
too. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Everybody,
Just
everybody
Nick.
has their own opinion. You know
Just
what I mean?
Nick.
Like, and
Yeah.
I respect
It's
that.
fine.
What's worked for us maybe doesn't work for Nick.
That's right.
At the end of the day, I know that God has my back, and I know what's helped me out is that support system, that
Yeah.
circle of people,
Yeah.
my church. It's helped
But
me
your
out.
support system needs to be with Christ.
Yes.
Yeah,
That is a byproduct.
Yeah, I'm not saying that like I leave everything to them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like my relationship.
But that's what I'm saying.
my
Like with
relationship
people who
is-
don't understand that, like understanding how you're able to do that.
Yeah, well, my relationship
Yeah.
has to go from here to there,
Yeah.
and then I'm able to do from here to here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get me? I have
Because
to.
God also
this
God
is-
also speaks to those around you.
Yeah.
It's like this.
So you have to have those.
It's like this. Boom.
Mhm.
First, second. First,
You
second.
always have to go to direct first.
and I'm
Directly.
pointing up and down for me and God, and for me to others.
And sideways.
And
yeah.
sideways. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I the reason why I say this because
So we haven't been your support system or
no.
what?
What I'm
What's
like
up,
that's
bro?
what
saying is
you're saying. That's
what's
what you're
going?
saying.
What's-
Just say it to my face then.
no. What I'm saying is that like people like
going on?
understanding like what that actually means. Because then at the end of the day, then you're just really it's a watered down gospel. Like what did really Christ come here? Like if you understand, like he died so that you could be there with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you understand, like when you
And
feel
be
that
one
and
with
be
the Holy Spirit.
with that allows you to be in the community. But like that needs to be your focus first.
100%.
And then that is about like everything else comes into place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, God
Building
will.
a relationship with God is very important.
It's number one, you know,
Yes.
and then later on he'll put the right people,
Yeah.
with you. Yeah.
you know, next to you, with you. It could be your wife, can be your husband, could be your daughter, son, twins, quadruplets.
What I'm saying
Hey.
is I'm going to fail you.
Oh, definitely. We
Yes,
are. We're
we
all
are.
gonna.
And so
yeah, we.
that's why the relationship with like your relationship with God is always number one because people are always going to fail you. And for me, that is
Yeah.
my biggest, like, for me, that's why I said, like, no, not me. Like, because at the end of the day, like,
But once you understand that people are not perfect, you
Yeah.
know, and that's what
Yeah.
God had created.
That's the main thing.
well, God
Yeah.
didn't create us not to be perfect.
Well, of course not. But
Well, he created us in his image, but it's flawed. You know, it was
It's
flawed when
flawed
Adam
when-
and Eve came, just like you
that's
said,
right.
and then we're
Well-
gonna be made perfect once we're
So
with,
then,
we're with
did
him.
God, if he created him in his image, did that mean his image is flawed?
No, his image
No.
is never
Okay.
flawed.
We
yeah,
flawed.
we messed up, bro.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
flawed. And that's when everything went down.
Come on now, Nick.
But he
I
knows,
wish
I
you
was just
guys-
saying, but like how you
Ah,
said
come
it,
on.
that's why I was asking.
Come on
he,
now,
knows,
Nick.
he knows how
what are
imperfect
you doing
we
here?
are.
What are you doing here, bro? Come on, I'm gonna.
He knows how imperfect we
I'm
are.
gonna, hey, I'm
And
gonna pray
once
for you
we
tonight,
get
bro. I'm sorry.
please.
I'm just gonna pray for him tonight.
Once we get
Jesus.
that, I think once we get that, we truly start seeing everyone and caring for them and having compassion for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But in order to do so,
Yeah, you mentioned it 20
Yeah.
times.
that's I'm just making sure.
Relationship with God is first. Simple. Simple. Boom. That's it.
Yes.
All right.
Boom.
Boom. Well,
There
thank
we
you
go.
guys. Thank you for
Thank you.
tuning in one more week. Thank
What's
you
up with
for.
you, Kevin?
No, it's because the thing is, I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
Oh, okay.
I don't understand some of the things you guys said, but that's why
That's
I
why
have
I
you
was
guys-
saying,
I have you guys to support.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, we were reading the Bible, and I really need to understand what they were telling me.
Did you
But-
get it now?
Eventually, little by little,
Yeah.
my.
It's not easy.
It's for me, from my learning since I was a little young. You guys had to tell me 10 times again for me to understand it.
Oh, I get it
So
now.
you get me?
Yeah.
So it's I think it's what I went to.
I was just gonna say what you-
Get that.
but that's why I've said it like 20 times.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we get it, but I'm talking to the people who may not understand that, and maybe they're taking what you're saying at face value
Oh.
and not understanding
Yeah.
the depths of why you're able to say that.
Of course.
Exactly.
know?
Yes.
And so that they have the understanding, the reason why we are the way we are has nothing to do with it's amazing that we have a support group, but it's because of the relationship we have.
With God. Yeah.
With God at
You
the end of
know.
the day.
And
Yeah.
then when you have that, like now you can give discernment and wisdom into Kevin and understanding, like, oh, this is what this means, and
Yeah.
so
Like-
on and so forth.
When we talked to you and we told you that we all fail too, but
Mhm.
because we have a relationship with God, we are able to also talk to you and be
Mhm.
able to support with you. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
And then once I get it, I can share it to other people.
Exactly. And it kind of
And
just goes around.
That's my
everywhere.
goal is
And
for
that-
me to learn more about Jesus and the Bible in general and everything. For me to speak the word out to the people, even to the customers, because half of the percentage of people come in and they see my personality and they show me. They tell me, "You go to church, huh? Why do they see that off me? Probably how I act.
Isn't
how
that
I say-
crazy?
Yeah, because
Mm.
was a customer I had. She knows about Elevation Church because I
Mhm.
had the pen, and she's like, "I love you. I love the way you are." And she was just mentioning the church and stuff like that. Because everything I was saying, because she was telling me, "Oh, this and that," and I was like, "Thank God, thank God, and thank God." She's like, "I love the way you are. That's why I'm buying a car off of you. Because it's not the way." The car, this is a good price, whatever. It's the way that you're acting with me. I'm like, wow, it's a
You need to
blessing.
be carrying some revived pins. And
Yeah.
But the
Just
but,
kidding.
but yeah, like the elevation pen is what connected.
Yeah.
It.
Yeah.
Like she
Yeah.
was like,
And
I
she
know
said-
what that is.
It's
Yeah.
different. It's
Yeah.
different connections that you make with people, and I
And
think that's where
yeah.
you.
And I promote Revive because I tell them, hey, go to this church and
That's
this
why
church and
God
this church.
put
and
its
this-
bride here.
Promote God.
God, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
God is the
Promote
number
God.
one thing, of course.
Because
Of course.
Nick is gonna be like, but remember your relationship
Shit.
with God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because when you like,
that here goes.
well, yeah, like,
No, I'm just
No,
messing with
no.
you.
like,
He's
because I was
You're
I
about
was
to go in.
well, I'm like, yeah, like if, when you understand like
yeah,
how
bro,
lost
you don't
we
get it?
were,
Yeah.
No,
and like
yeah.
like God, it's like giving up your son to die for
Yeah.
humanity.
Yeah.
I don't-
Like when you understand that, like
Yes.
but like not even when you understand it, like just think about that for a second. Like
Yeah.
that is what's important.
Of course.
Yes.
And everything else is like that this is a byproduct that I get to have a relationship with all these different types of people, whether they're Christian or not. Like
Mhm.
it's
Yep.
what, like, man, like I have sympathy, empathy, like my heart breaks for people. Like, oh man, like when you see someone with hopelessness, like you know because you were there, like we were hopeless
Yeah.
Yeah.
before Christ came
Exactly.
Yes.
and he restored, right? And it's
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
man, like, so for me, when maybe that's why I'm like, like
amazing.
harping so much on that is because like people may not understand that, or maybe they're new into it. And it's like, at the end of the day, like the churches weren't there. It's not a building,
No.
right? It's a community of people, but
Mhm.
the community of people that you're around also is gonna, like, it's important to still have the connection with Christ, because all
Oh,
that's
that's
everything is gonna wash away, and you're gonna stand before, and you're gonna be held accountable.
yeah.
Mhm.
And you, well, but hey, but Eder said like,
Nope.
I'm gonna talk to Eder's next in line, but
No,
right now
no,
I'm
not
looking
me.
at you. You know what I mean? Like that's how I envision it for
No.
myself.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, shoot, okay. Now that doesn't mean to live in fear. Like for me, it's like more so like, okay, am I really giving my all in this, or am I really doing like, am I really having a heart after Christ? Like, am I really leaning in towards Him? Like, you know what I mean? Like that is what keeps me held accountable, especially with my thoughts. So, yeah, it's. I just want to make sure that,
You don't want to repeat it one more time?
yeah. I
Say.
mean, I don't need to repeat it. I think everyone's got the gist of it.
Nah,
you know?
yeah. No, it's
Um,
good. No,
I think it's always good
it's important. Your relationship with God. It's
to
That's the
repent.
number
The most
one.
important
it's
thing.
number one, man. You put God first, and then yourself, and then everything else.
Well, think
Then
about it. It's like,
repenting.
think about a marriage. Like, if you don't put any intention or effort into working with it, what
I
happens?
really didn't.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
You know?
What?
I don't know what she
Oh,
said.
like I didn't really worked in anything.
I had to. I'm
Yeah.
still
He's
working
still
on it.
working on it.
trying.
I'm
Yeah.
still
He's still there.
working.
But that's a
Hey.
good
No,
example.
no,
She
no.
still loves you no matter what.
That's
right?
right.
Like,
And, then,
Because
and,
God-
and she's human.
Because God fully
Yeah.
restored my
But-
heart.
But
Yeah.
then, but and
First.
she and if she can do that as a human, now imagine our Father, man.
That's right.
Ooh,
That's
I
right.
can't even imagine it. Like, it's unfathomable.
Yeah.
amazing.
Ooh, the love of God. It's amazing. It's awesome.
It's incredible.
Something that we can.
Thank you, Lord.
We will never, ever, ever get to
Just open
comprehend.
up the
No.
Bible, read it. Like start with if Old Testament's hard, just start reading the Gospels. Read what
Yeah.
Jesus was saying. Like
Bible
and if you can't understand it,
Yeah.
Like,
Ask.
pray for like, hey,
Mhm.
For
For
give,
you to understand
just
it.
give me something to be able to grasp.
I
Yeah.
you
remember
know?
the first time I opened my Bible, and it was the part where he was getting resurrected, Jesus. And I prayed. I was like, please, God, like, I really want to understand this. And as soon as I opened it and I was reading a couple scriptures, I just started crying. And I was like, I felt crazy, but it was just like I saw all the emotion Jesus felt and all everything he was going through, and it is just those type of things is what God grants you if you truly ask Him with your heart.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And wherever you're at, like Christ always met people where they're at. The Bible,
Yeah.
Yes, He
it's
did.
the same. The Bible's the same thing. It
Yep.
meets you where you're at.
Yep.
Mhm.
You know, and that's
I
why
mean-
like Kevin
Mhm.
could read a scripture. He's like, I don't understand it. And
Yeah, we don't
somebody
understand
who
it,
went
but
to
eventually-
seminary and it's just like super biblical theology, like on point, they could read the same scripture and be just as impacted as you were.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
you're never going to fully understand. Like you there's no way that our minds can't grasp
Nope.
infinite.
We're
the
never
li-
gonna
like the living
fully
word, bro.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could read it, you know,
1,000 times, and every
and it-
single
and
time
every-
it
and
can
it
be
It's like a
changes,
different.
and
new
it-
golden nugget.
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
like, what the
Yeah,
heck?
it's
It's
incredible.
crazy.
It's
Because
insane.
it meets you where you're at.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it, you know
Of
what?
course.
And you know, you have a smartphone. Most of us, I'm not sure. As here in
Download the
US,
Bible app.
download the Bible app. It's completely free. They have different versions of it. They got different languages up in there. They got
There's a
plans.
community there.
There's
I
a
mean, yeah.
community there.
Yeah.
There's,
I mean, there's
man, it's
there's
just-
no nowadays. There's no see like maybe 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, like people were stuck with just listening to one person talking, like, and you don't know, like, with technology, everything's at your fingertips.
Yes.
You can listen to anybody like that are just sound theological,
Yeah.
like just sound sermons, and receive that. And that could be part of like, okay, now I receive this. Now I can help Kevin, or now I can help someone else. Like you want to constantly be feeding yourself to grow.
Yes.
Yep.
Like, because if you don't water something, what happens? You know, like you have to
Muere.
constantly be watering.
You gotta
Yeah.
be
Water,
yeah, your
water.
Holy Spirit needs to be able to be filled.
How can I give water to somebody if my bucket's empty? I
Yeah.
first need to fill up from the well so that I can disperse.
That's right.
And then that action is what Kevin sees and he's like, hey, well, let me check. What are you up to? Like, oh, like I'm filling up and I'm giving this. And then people start seeing that, like, oh, like this is what we have to do.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like, yeah. And people are always watching,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know?
I think
Definitely.
no matter what, we should never stop trying to refill ourselves.
Yeah.
Because
You have to.
I think that's
You
where
have
you,
to.
And when
you
you-
mess up.
and when you come to a place where like,
Well,
oh,
Christ did it all the time.
yeah, and it's Christ, you know?
Yeah.
It's now,
Yeah.
you know, imagine people that are like, oh, I know everything now. Like, no, you don't. Lies.
No
You're
one
lying.
knows any. Like the second
We
you
don't
say you
know
know
nothing.
everything, you don't
You
know
don't know
anything.
anything.
Right?
Yep.
Like
Ah,
I just know from how I've experienced life, and
Yes.
this is what I'm aware of right
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
Of course.
that's so good. Scratching my
course.
ear. Sorry.
that's it.
We
you
want to
know?
thank God for today.
Well, thank you
Thank you,
guys,
Lord.
man. Thank you. This is
It was a good
interesting. It's
conversation.
interesting.
You
You
have
know?
anything else, Kevin? You seem like
No, I'm new to this.
we're all new.
Where are
We've never done a
you?
podcast before.
No, I'm new to the
Yeah, we're
the
all-
name of
yeah.
I mean the
We
word of
are
God.
too.
No, the word of God. I'm saying.
We are.
We
too.
are too.
Every
Trust
day's
me,
a new
I'm
day.
way newer.
Every
than
day's a
that.
new day.
No.
Bro, there's people that been on the word for over 50, 60 years, and they're gonna tell you, I'm still new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just amazed
and
of
you-
what I'm hearing from, what you guys saying from the Bible and stuff like
Yeah.
that. What he did, what guys, I mean, whatever they
Yeah.
went with him and
The
stuff like
disciples, yeah.
that.
Oh, it's bro.
incredible.
Trust me, man. The Bible, it's
Wait,
amazing. It's
I told you there's so many.
Yeah,
paths
no, I know. That's
eventually.
what I'm
Bible
saying.
has-
That's why I
woo,
was just
it has-
staring.
It can be overwhelming.
It is.
it
Pick
can
one
be.
thing
It is.
and just go in that. Like,
Yeah.
and just
that's what we
open
were saying
something to start
yesterday.
with.
Yeah.
It can be, like, where do I start? Just easiest thing to start. Just read the Gospels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just start with
That's
the
how I
Gospels.
started, and I started in little gaps.
Yeah,
You
because
start
I was
little
like,
by little.
Yeah.
I
Don't-
was like, I'm not gonna pressure myself
Yeah.
because I know I'm not gonna probably understand it, and I want to take my time.
And if
Yeah.
you need to read,
So-
like, if you have read NIV, just read some, like, just
Yes.
just start with the Gospels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
start something simple. You
Yeah.
don't have to go all crazy.
Yeah, love it. So It's a wrap, guys.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. Thank you guys so much one
Good
more time
night.
for tuning
Jesus
in,
loves you. Have a great day.
listening,
Or evening.
or
Or
evening,
evening,
or
or
after,
night.
afternoon,
Or
or
morning.
Rise or sunset.
or around
Buenas
brunch
noches,
time.
buenos días.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Thank
If
you
you
guys.
have breakfast, invite us over. If you have dinner, invite us over.
We're just hungry. We're gonna get
Yeah.
some. We're
Chili
gonna
cheese
go,
fries.
we're gonna go
Chili
chili
cheese
cheese
fries.
fries.
Yeah.
What do you think,
Chili cheese
Pancho?
fries. Arroz
All right,
con pollo,
Pancho.
papi.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. Love you guys. FloVation. Out.
Bye.